So let's take a look first at the community from the general public view. So I am at the URL community.datacookbook.com. Jim, if you want to pop that into the comments area, folks at your desks there can type it in yourself and follow along if you wish. This is a publicly available website. So from this place, you can see there are three core areas of content. The definitions area here, the first one, is where you find the 4,083 definitions that James mentioned earlier. The specifications area is where you find data specifications. I want to stop for a minute and define what is a specification. Specification describes the purpose and the content of an actual physical report, and they serve two purposes. The first purpose aids the report consumer in understanding a report or a dashboard. So if you are trying to understand a report in front of you, either on screen, a specification is a companion set of information that helps you accurately interpret and better understand, contextualize what it is that you are looking at. The second core purpose of a specification is for the person who does not have access to that report. So the specification can serve for you as a discovery tool. So the set of data specifications serve together as a catalog of reports that are then discoverable, make your reports discoverable by people in your organization. So that's what a specification is. It's a description of a physical report. And then the last category here is just community organizations. That's just the list of all of the organizations who contribute either definitions or specifications to the public community. All right, let's take a look at definitions specifically. Take a minute here to load that large set. So here we have the homepage for the definitions. With a group of content like this, the number, the thousands here, there's two core ways to navigate. The first is search, and I'm going to search across all definitions for gender. And there are 39 definitions that contain the word gender, either in the word itself or in the definition. So you can see in scanning the results, you can see the first, here's our definition name. There's 7 or 8 that literally use the word gender, and they're coming from the organization that provided it over on the right. So we have Maryland, PAR Framework, Achieving the Dream, Texas, Utah, Montana. But then notice we get into current gender and we get into prior gender. So the collection serves as gives some insight into the conversation around gender that's happening now in higher education. It also provides just a simple way to visually compare definitions, as James mentioned this, visually compare definitions across from different providers. Okay. So keyword search is a basic way to interact with that group of definitions. The other helpful way to interact is filtering by the institution. I'm going to filter by Maryland, MHEC, Maryland Higher Education Commission. They have 123 definitions. And they represent, it's pretty basic, representational list of curriculum and enrollment definitions, academic rank for faculty, test scores, admissions type data, etc. You know, a lot of the usual suspects there around enrollment and curriculum, all by Maryland here. You can see the organization there. At this point, with this set, you can export the whole set of 123 into Excel and own a copy. You could also take it down in PDF. If you were a Data Cookbook client, you could copy all 123 definitions into your own license of Data Cookbook, and then utilize those definitions in parallel to your own local school's definitions in your reporting environment. So if you were a school in Maryland, being able to, with just a few keystrokes, have copies of MHEC definitions in your own cookbook is a benefit. Okay. I want to take a look at one more organization. Let's look at Western Carolina University. Their school, their clients, and they illustrate that some of our clients choose to push their own local definitions into the public community and are viewable by everyone. So Western Carolina has pushed 22 definitions, and it looks the same as MHEC's. Same thing, you could download theirs as well if you wanted to work with vocabulary or were working on a business glossary locally in some local software. You could use this set as a starter set of definitions. I'm going to click on academic eligibility just to give you that view of a full record for a definition. It doesn't display much more information than what you saw on the scanned results screen. You see if you were a client, you could add a comment publicly to this definition. So that's a walk through the definitions area of the community. Let's take a look at specifications. This is a smaller set of content. You'll notice there's no search box for these, but there is the filter by institution. You can see the list of institutions who share specs is shorter, significantly shorter than the group that shares definitions. Let's take a peek at CAEP, the Council for Accreditation of Educator Preparedness. And they have 31 items. So if you were a school who was submitting to CAEP, these 31 items would help you submit the specific data points that you need to fulfill your obligation to CAEP. Let's look at Standard 3.2 is a little bit more interesting. Let's scroll down there and take a closer look at that one. This one is related to admissions requirements, and it just outlines the admissions data that they are asking schools to submit to them. Talks a little bit about values, calculations, selection criteria, etc. At the bottom, I want to show you how it links to the definitions that CAEP has also submitted to the community. So these 8 definitions are of all of the CAEP's definitions. I think there are 120-ish, 130-ish definitions. These 8 are the definitions that are relevant to Standard 3.2 around admissions. So this format correlates the definitions, the data elements specifically, with the specific report that needs to include them. If you mouse over, you can see the definition there highlighted. Also, if you just click on it, you could go directly to that record and see the definition record itself. So that summarizes the specification section of Community from again, from the general public's perspective. Let's take a look at what it looks like from the Data Cookbook's perspective if I was a client. So if I worked at a school that had the Data Cookbook, my fictitious name, this is Jill Yun. She's logged in at a school, fictitious school called IData University. And this is what her cookbook looks like. She has available to her a community tab, and when she clicks on that, she lands on this page, and it looks very familiar to what we just saw in the general public view and behaves in the same manner. The difference will be that when we get to display the 123 MHEC definitions in this view, okay, Jill could, she could download that entire set of 128. She could also download them one by one. The other way that Jill could interact with that content in the community is if she was in the context of her own cookbook. So now we've returned back and we are in Jill's own license, and she's going to go over to her definitions area and she's going to create a definition. And I realize for those of you on the call, this may be your first time seeing Data Cookbook. I'm going to kind of keep this at a high level just to illustrate the community aspects of it. So if Jill wants to add she's working on a report about student athletes, and she needs to add the definition of athlete eligibility, and she needs a definition of what is athlete eligibility. This is where she would go to start that off. And so she types in athlete eligibility. And as she types, the cookbook responds to her and starts prompting language for her to use. And we see that second one there, athlete eligibility, that's our friend from Western Carolina University. So it's providing her with community contents that she could then copy into her own instance of the cookbook. So it's quite convenient for her to use that definition. And then she would go on and save it, etc., and process it along her regular processes for creating a definition in her business glossary.